Hey guys, for those that might not know me, my name is Mark, and you are stepping into the middle of a series of kitchen renovation projects. For those of you who have been following along, in the last video, I left off with putting the ultimate top coat finish on top of my epoxy countertop samples here. And I just wanted to show you real quick, after it dried, what these things ended up looking like. So the matte is here, the glossy is here, and I'll take you in for a closer look. I still really like the matte. That is, I don't know, it almost looks more like stone to me. But the glossy is also very nice. I like that a lot too. It looks really sharp, it looks really clean. It does have just this little bit of a texture. It's maybe not orange peel, but it's similar to that. I like it. It looks really nice, but there's something about this matte that I don't know, it's intriguing. I like this one better. But it's up to Katie. Once we've made our decision, I'm going to abuse these. I want to know how hard, how durable is this stuff actually going to make our countertops. But before we do that, I need it to still look pretty nice so Katie can weigh her options and decide which one she likes. So just for the heck of it, I wanted to show you, this is what our backsplash is going to look like. I think she wants it running horizontal, maybe vertical. I think it's horizontal. We haven't settled for sure on the color for the counter because this has turned out so nice. We're maybe rethinking her original idea. She wanted really light, really white. If you go back and watch our basement countertop video a few videos ago, that's what she has in mind. But this is so nice that we're second guessing ourselves. But we've already bought an entire backsplash worth of tile, so we wanted to see what this would look like together. And I think it'll work just fine. I think that looks nice. One mark I think against the glossy in this case is it's so shiny. Let's see, how do I get it to make this angle? There, we'll go this angle. It's so shiny. Well, I can't really prove it. Sorry. I can hold it up here, and I can see the reflection of the tile in the shiny surface of this. And I don't know if I like that. That's going to make it busier. Boy, I sure can't. I can't prove that to you right now. Don't know why. Can't. Yep, I can't make the angle work that way. You'll have to take my word for it. That's kind of like, I like this better for sure. I like this well enough, but because I feel like I can see the reflection of this in this, that kind of makes me say it's a no-brainer and I want to go with matte over glossy. But what do you guys think? I'd like to know, if you were putting this in your kitchen, which sheen do you like better? Leave me a comment about that. The other thing I wanted to point out was, you saw me rolling this on. Before I knew anything about any of this, I assumed the top coat was another 2-part epoxy that you would pour over the top like a full clear coat and double the thickness, and that's how you got the durability. So when I went to doing it and it rolls on like really thin paint, you think, how could that possibly be that hard? How could it possibly be that durable? Well, take a look at this. Yep. This is the roller that I applied that with. It made this thing so hard. It is hard as a rock. Just, I cannot dent it with my finger at all. I know it's only 1/4 inch nap, but still, much as I can push on there, it hurts my finger and does not even a little bit indent that thing. So I am confident that this is going to be way stronger than it would be without it. All right, that being said, let's move on from the counters. We're going to go in the house and take a look at what we've been up to in there. All right, so we're back in the house and we have a little bit of a rainstorm blowing in, so it's kind of dark outside and there's no power in this space at this point. I have the 2 lights that I robbed from the basement and from the barn shop kind of helping to keep this place lit up enough that I can work in here, but it's looking very clean. There should not be one single nail left in all the studs and all the rafters. We've cleaned all of that. I have one of the old power lines here hanging down kind of unsightly, but that's just temporary power to keep one outlet working for our Wi-Fi that comes in that wall because Katie is working and the boys are on summer vacation and I got to have enough power to run the Wi-Fi. Okay, so the latest thing that's happened in here, let's see, we took out this closet, we talked about that, we talked about rafters, we talked about this closet here. We still have to remove up to, this will be how far back the stairway gets cut open, just to open that corner a little bit more. The problem is when I do that, it makes it that much harder to seal this side of the house off from that side. So I haven't done it yet. I'm not in a hurry to. Nothing really happens there other than moving that light switch to the other side for, the stairway lighting. So the interesting thing that we're going to talk about today is I had an electrician friend take a look at our plans, and I was hoping that he could give me some suggestions on lighting layout. That was my goal with talking to this guy. Well, I showed him the actual plans that Joe made for me. So I mentioned this quite a while ago. Joe of Designer's Touch Kitchen and Bath Studio drew up the entire set of plans for me, and this is the presentation. And this was all the electrician needed to see to go absolutely hog wild on what we needed here. He drew me not only layout of lights, but how the wires had to run to get them to where they needed to be. So it was very interesting to watch this guy work, and I'm really glad he's going to be helping me out with this. But Joe, just so you know, he looked at your plans and went, who made you these? These are great. So you're doing great work. I really appreciate it. When we get to building cabinets, we'll get more into what Joe's plans look like. But what's interesting is that we then took what he kind of drew out for us and drew it on the floor to show us where everything is going to be. So, that's going to be sink, stove, fridge. This is going to be the island. We actually drew the island and said, if you're going to do 2 cans, you'd have 1 there and there. If you're going to have 3 cans, you'd have 1, 2, 3. Do you want 4? Do you want 6-inch? Whatever. Lights however far from the wall. Lights however far from the wall over the sink. However far in front of the refrigerator. Kitchen lights versus dining room lights versus living room lights. And we actually went around and marked every single spot on the floor exactly where it needed to be. Over here, there's a fan. It even says fan, and there's a lovely drawing on the floor that my father-in-law made to indicate that that is a fan, because apparently I can't read. But moving on, we have completely road mapped where all the lights are going to be in here, but we have to take these locations on the floor and get them up to where they actually need to be hung. And that is where this little guy comes in. This was just sent to me from Dovo. I believe that's how you say it. And it is a super fancy laser leveling system. Comes with this whole bunch of stuff. This bracket is pretty nifty. It clamps onto 2x4s. It does a bunch of stuff. There's 2 rechargeable batteries. There's lifting platforms. There's all sorts of things. What I care about is this feature right here. I can take this guy. Let's just find, here, this is well lit enough. There's a spot that says can. If I flip this guy on, and now it's casting a horizontal line right around the base of it. So let's do horizontal again, and it jumps it up to the higher one. So if I get you down low, you can see the line on the wall and you can see the device. And if I bump this thing, if I wiggle this thing, it self-levels. So that line on the wall wiggles, and then this thing works out. Yeah, but that's what it actually needs to look like over there. So that's pretty cool. But for this, what I need is to move to vertical. And now we have one line vertically that's going whoop, all the way up and over everything in that straight line. And I can push it again. And now it's turned out a different axis. But when I push it a third time, boop, I get a crosshairs. So if I take that crosshair and put it on this exact spot on the floor that we've mapped out, and then look up at the ceiling, I get a plus sign, I get a crosshair. That is where my can light for my refrigerator needs to be hung centered anyway. So I can go up on the underside of those floors and give myself this spot up there, and then I can proceed to start hanging all these can lights in the exact right position. So I'm going to walk around the room with this fancy Lasermeister and get all these light locations moved up there, because all of this stuff is also just sitting on the ground to protect it from the demolition. So as soon as I start shifting this around, then that position changes, and that's not going to help anybody. So I want to get these marked out correctly up there before I move the floor, before I peel up the horrible old linoleum, or before we have to, rearrange anything in here for any of the next steps. Look at all those lasers. Oh, I didn't turn the horizontal off. So we've got horizontal all the way around the room. Let's look at this. This is about 45 feet long. We got horizontal line very, very clearly here. Some people would wonder about the brightness of this thing. So let's look. That looks pretty good. We can see it all the way over there, down on the 2x4, all the way across the room. Like I said, 45-foot room end to end, and you can see that thing clearly the whole way. Anyway, let's start making some marks. Perfectly lined up with our spot. So then I'm just going to come up here without getting in the way of it and mark my spot up there. So now the can light can get attached here and centered roughly underneath that point because we've measured it from the ground and we're perfect. And I'm going to go around the room and do all of that. And there's got to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, just 24 of those or something. A bunch of different locations to do. We're going to jump around and get them all done. And then the other cool part is going to be that I can take this guy. It's releveling itself. I'm going to turn the verticals off, switch to horizontal. So it has kind of a dim side and a bright side too. And we're casting all the way around the room. I can see everything. This is just an arbitrary height. Like I said, wiggles, levels. And I can use that, get this up to exactly the right height, and use it to mark all of my outlet heights that'll go into the backsplash so that they'll look perfectly level in regards to the tiles that'll be in there. And then I can put it down at ground level and get all of those outlets at the same level as well. So this thing is going to be really, really handy, but I need to get to marking. So let's move on. All right. This line right here, I know to be the height above the counter that I want all the way around. And because the floor here is uneven versus here versus there versus whatever, you know, we'll just check that. That's pretty close. That one, you know, from this floor is right on, but it's actually above that because this floor is up half an inch or something. So what really matters is that they're all the same. So I'm going to raise this until it matches the mark that I like, which from this floor, which should be the height of the finished tile by the time we're done, now it's matching that, and now it's level all the way around the room. Just for fun, I'll measure from this floor, should be 46. It's 46 all day. Come over to this side. Doesn't really matter where I am. That laser is at 46. So, and that's, you know, assuming this floor is still level, we're still good there. 46, 46. We are actually trending upward this direction. There's some slope to the floor, but that level, or that line, I know to be level. So anyway, I am gonna finish marking out the locations. We've gone through and said there's gonna be one here, there's gonna be one here, there's gonna be one here. I am going to actually indicate the exact height on these studs so that when we come around to nail in the boxes, they go into the exact right height. You know, look at this line. That line is about 1/4 inch above our laser, and inside that backsplash, that's going to be really obvious. But I'm going to finish out doing this, and then I'm going to go enjoy some baseball games and some camping this weekend. So that's going to be the end of this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. There's going to be a link to this fancy laser device down in the description. Devore, I hope that's how you pronounce it. Thank you for sending me this. It's going to be really, really helpful, and I'm going to be using it more in this series as I get to things that need to be leveled and straight. So check it out. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys on the next one next week. I don't know what we'll have done by then, but we'll have another update. So see you next time.